All right. Perfect. Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Hello.
Hello.
You are in a plane or in a car? I'm trying to
In a
figure
car. I'm in a car. I'm in a
Well,
car. Yeah.
Thank you for joining us in the car. We love that.
Well, it was either that or not being able to join. So I think I'd rather join in the car than
Well,
not doing it at all.
We really appreciate that. Your commitment to
Thank
that to LACC. Thank you. We appreciate it.
Well, let me introduce. I'm the new consul for the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico.
Oh, well, congratulations and welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, and where are you located?
In Mérida, in Mexico.
Okay. Very nice. Yeah, it looks like I could see beautiful weather, so which it's really, really good.
Well, it's quite hot. Yes.
Okay.
It is quite hot.
Very
Yes.
good.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, we're just waiting for, I think at 12:05, maybe we can start. What do we think? And
Yeah.
we have this recording anyway, and you know, if people are a little late, they could always listen to it. Okay. I am just going to get a glass of water. I'll be right back. Okay, it's 12:05. Okay. All right. Nicola, I would say let's get started.
Absolutely. So hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's a pleasure to see you. My name is Nicolas Rameau. I'm a board member and executive committee member of the Luxembourg American Chamber of Commerce. And in the name of the LACC, I'd like again to extend a warm welcome to all of you. We are very pleased to co-host this event with the Chamber of Commerce in Luxembourg. Maybe to start off with a couple of housekeeping items. I should be very grateful if you could all mute your microphones during the presentation. The chat feature can be used to ask questions, and I think that Tony and Janet will be monitoring those and might direct the questions as appropriate. And please all note that this event is being recorded and will be available for download, for future viewing, and will be also shared on social media. Now, with that said, please allow me to introduce Diana Rutledge from the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce. Diana is the Senior International Affairs Advisors for North America, Oceania, the UK and Ireland, which is quite a territory to cover. We're very pleased again and are very thankful to the Chamber of Commerce for the excellent work together. And Diana, if you want to say a few introductory remarks, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicholas, for this. I'm very pleased to welcome you for this webinar today, Making a Difference in Luxembourg and the US, which we are so pleased to co-organize with the Luxembourg American Chamber of Commerce in New York. We're happy to continuously be able to count on the great collaboration of the team in the LACC, namely Tony Dutzak and Janet Murillo, for this series of webinars. I'm so honored to welcome our guest speakers today, Daniel da Cruz, Miriam Hangash, and Samuel Majeros. Today's webinar is the second webinar in this series that aims to present the new Consul General and Executive Directors in the Luxembourg Trade and Investment Offices in the United States, in New York, and in San Francisco. The Luxembourg Trade and Investment Offices, short LTIO, are coordinated by the Ministry of the Economy and are partner both for companies considering to expand to Europe and for Luxembourg companies eager to export to the US and to Canada. During today's webinar, we will also have the chance to listen to the LSC Engineering Group. Miriam Hangash and Samuel Majeros will showcase some of their latest projects and present an overview of Luxembourg's circular objectives in general, as well as their company's circular approach specifically. For the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce, this international network is so important. I have mentioned already our co-organizers today, the LACC. There is also the Luxembourg Embassy in Washington, DC, the US Embassy in Luxembourg, the network of honorary consuls, and of course, our LTIOs in New York and in San Francisco. This is a very strong network and has enabled the Luxembourg Chamber of Commerce to set a specific focus and priority on the US market this year, with events such as the Digital Mission to Wisconsin, the Go International USA webinar, and many other events to support the Luxembourg companies that want to export to the US. Today, it is my privilege to present the new person in charge of the LTIO San Francisco, Mr. Daniel da Cruz. Within our team of the International Affairs, we have had the pleasure of working with Daniel for many years now, as he was already our main contact within the Ministry of the Economy as the Director for Foreign Trade and Investment Promotion. So we are so pleased to be able to count on his expertise now in this new function. And so I invite now Daniel da Cruz to hear directly from him about his plans for this new role. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for these kind words, and also my thanks to the LACC for giving me the opportunity to be present today at this event. I sent some I prepared some visuals for this presentation. So maybe I will start with a few words about myself. I'm Daniel da Cruz. I took up my function here in San Francisco as a Consul General mid-August. As a career diplomat, it's actually my third post after Lisbon, Portugal, and Geneva in Switzerland. I held also various positions in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And as you said, Diana, before coming to San Francisco, I had the privilege to work at the Ministry of the Economy, where I was director during the last 5 years, director for foreign trade and investment promotion. So yes, now I'm here in San Francisco. I moved 2 months ago with the family, my wife and 3 children. It's, I have to say, quite challenging. It's a bit of an adventure for each of us. And the pandemic does not make things easier, for sure, for the settling. But we are here, and I have to acknowledge San Francisco. I mean, California is an exciting place where so much is going on, and I'm really looking forward to working here the next years. So concretely, what are we doing? Maybe next slide. As you saw it from the title, I'm double-hatted, Consul General and Executive Director of the Trade Investment Office. On one side, Consul General, I mean, we offer a range of typical consular services, including visas, passport, and there I have to say I'm quite impressed by the number of US citizens reclaiming Luxembourgish nationality. I mean, it keeps us really busy here at the office. And when I speak of the jurisdiction, it's quite large. We're covering here from San Francisco, 12 states. It's a large jurisdiction, but it's an interesting, very interesting area to cover, and I will speak about it also later. We support the partnership. I mean, support the partnership means specifically the contact with the local governments, local entities, and also, I mean, last point is we count on the valuable support of our honorary consuls, who are actually our ears and eyes where they implement their mandate. I already had the pleasure to meet a few weeks ago the Luxembourg consul from Salt Lake City. He was here in San Francisco, and I'm looking forward to meeting our consuls in Los Angeles and in Phoenix in the coming weeks. As I said, the area we're covering is large, and part of my mission is also to get in touch and network with local governments and local entities. On the next slide, I will show, I mean, the other facet of the work. It's that the Consul General provides also a platform for trade and investment with the aim to develop the economic bilateral relations, or at least to contribute at the development of these ties. And that's position I work as an executive director of the LTIO. And Diane already spoke about I mean, the facet of the mission of this trade and the investment offices under the auspices of the Ministry of the Economy. The important point is that we are actually the focal point to help the companies to set up and to expand their activities in the US. And when you speak about Canada here on this slide, is specifically Vancouver and British Columbia. If we want to dig in, and this next slide, I mean, and to talk about our role, obviously, as a trade and investment office, we provide information and advice on local business environment, information on market entry conditions, the context needed. But maybe let me highlight a few of the specific elements of the office here and here in San Francisco is mainly to promote Luxembourg as an ideal business and technology location to Western US and Canadian companies. And here I speak specifically, I mean, from the technology hubs such as the San Francisco Bay Area, from the Silicon Valley, Seattle, LA, and San Diego. And here it's important to make the link also what's going on in Luxembourg with our priority sectors, and I mean also the development in our data economy. In that sense, it's also important, I mean, to keep up with the good work which has been done by my predecessors. I can notice in the few weeks I was here that actually Luxembourg is on the map, specifically when it comes to space, when it comes to fintech. But we can also like strengthen these relations, and I mean I will try to also to focus on various priority sectors like clean tech, like digital health or mobility, where a lot can be done. I mean from California. To act as a facilitator. That's important also for the office to have this function. And the last point, but very important one, is actually to assist our startups, Luxembourg startups, I'm interested in learning from the San Francisco Bay Area technology ecosystem. What does it mean? When you think about technology, when you think about innovation, you think about mainly about Silicon Valley, you think about San Francisco. And so we will really continue to try to help, I mean, the startups who are really willing to go a step ahead. And that's why we have a startup also program. We participate in a few startup programs. That's on the next slide. I think my colleague Paul already mentioned the one in New York, Benelux Catalyst. That's the one we do jointly, Generator, and the specific for San Francisco is the one co-organized with the incubator Next Cubed, and which will take place this year in November actually. So it's I mean actually I put on this slide, I mean the various for the whole US. You will see also for the next slide, I mean the snapshot about the companies present in the US. It is maybe also an important remark. I didn't want also to separate. Yes, can you hear me? Sorry. Yes, okay, sorry for that. I didn't want to separate artificially, I mean, the startup programs and the companies at the western side and the eastern side. It was important for me to have that jointly, also to show that it's a joint effort. The trade promotion effort is a joint effort, and we work hand in hand with our colleagues in New York. We work also under the auspices of our embassy in Washington. So that was important also to convey this message, because there's a lot to be covered. And on the next slide, you see our map. I mean the coverage we have to do, and it's fundamental to work together in order, at the end of the day, to position Luxembourg also as a smart location for high performance business and industry, to position Luxembourg as an attractive choice for doing business in Europe and beyond. Simply put, Luxembourg is open for business. And also in this sense, I mean, we have to partner. We partner in different initiatives, and we're happy also to partner for this event. I mean, with the LACC and the Chamber of Commerce, which is of utmost importance. Next slide. Well, I mean, I will show you. I mean, the team. We're a small team, but you can join us. I mean, on the social media. Don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions. I mean, we are there to help you. As I said, also like on the social media, we are very present, and we can also stay in touch. So I'm ready for, I mean, to take questions, but also I mean to take questions on the bilaterally. That's no problem. Thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And I think the main message or the key takeaway that at least I'll be taking away, and that I'm hoping the audience will also be taking away, is that Luxembourg is here to build bridges between the US and Europe in general, or the rest of the world in general. As you said, Daniel, Luxembourg is open for business, and I would encourage all of the participants to this seminar and the ones who will be listening to the replay to actually reach out to Daniel and his team with any questions, but also to reach out to Diana and the Chamber of Commerce, or to reach out to ourselves at LACC. We're here to build bridges, and as every Luxair aircraft proudly carries, let's make it happen. Now moving on maybe to today's presentation. It is our pleasure to have LSC Engineering Group. LSC is composed of several engineering consulting firms that combine their know-how to meet the requirements of the market in the field of construction and land development. Presentation for today will be around as Diana mentioned, around the circular economy, an overview of Luxembourg's circular objective, but also how Luxembourg plans to become climate neutral by 2050, and also how you can implement a circular strategy within your company. And so speakers for today are Miriam Hengisch and Samuel Majerus, both from LSC Engineering Group. Thank you very much for joining us. And Miriam and Samuel, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Nicola, for this very kind introduction. Thank you also to the LACC and the Chambre de Commerce for inviting us. The contact actually came through Lux Innovation. Mr. Schaaf, he's the head of the clean tech cluster. So yeah, we're very pleased to be here today to talk during 15 minutes about circular economy. So we are, as Nicola said, we are one of the largest engineering consultancies in Luxembourg. We currently have 350 people working in our group. In fact, we're not just in Luxembourg, we also have offices in Germany, France, and Senegal. I will take you through circular economy. So to kick off the small presentation, I want you to think about what those three things have in common: an apple, an urban development, and some very fancy trainers. In fact, all these three are circular. In a very simple way, how can we define circular economy? This graph helps, because if you understand the other types of economy, it's easy to understand circular economy. So linear economy is when you have a product that you use once and then you put it in the bin. Recycling economy is you have a product, you may recycle it once or twice, and then you throw it away. Circular economy means you do not need a rubbish bin anymore, but you actually use the waste as a resource. You reuse your waste. This is all very, that's a very, very simple definition of circular economy. As we are more from an engineering, construction, and urban planning background, Samuel will now showcase a couple of projects that aren't our projects, but exemplary projects in Europe that really showcase a circular economy.
Thank you, Miriam. So yeah, we wanted to tell you about these two projects. The first one is of a partner of us, Kobe, which is an architecture firm from Copenhagen in Denmark. So this project is called the Silo. It's a silo, or it was a silo, very industrial looking one, with for the storage of grains in the harbor of Copenhagen. And Kobe had this idea about upcycling this building. Instead of tearing it down, constructing something new, something more modern, what did they do? They just upcycled it. They cut some holes in the outer walls of the building, and they designed a very nice looking facade, as we can see. And here you have a very modern building in Copenhagen. And one of the even smaller stories that you can see here is that when they cut out the holes out of the concrete, they didn't even throw it away. They used it as benches. We can see here the two people on the right side sitting. It's actually the concrete they cut out, and they dispersed these concrete blocks around the districts. So that's a very nice example of circular economy, of how not to create some waste, but to produce very luxurious industrial looking residents. The second one is in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, and it's not about one building, but it's about a campus of different buildings. We can see here that there is Bosch, FIFA, Siemens that have their offices there. And the whole idea of this campus was not to build each building independently from the others, but to see it as a holistic system, to see the whole campus as one. And that's a bit the idea of the architects that worked on it. It's McDonough, which are one of the founders of circular economy, or cradle to cradle. And here you have some concepts. They look at everything from a campus view. So the waste, they have a waste concept for the whole campus, the heat, the power, everything is shared, the wastewater, everything is shared together as a campus. But it's not just one building, but it's everything as a whole. And from this, so this is very practical examples of circular economy. How does Luxembourg and Europe want to implement it in a larger scale? And as it was already introduced, already said, we have this in Europe. We have the European Green Deal, which tells, which sets some objectives and which helps us to define a strategy on how to implement circular economy in Europe. And one of the big thing is that the big milestone is to become climate neutral by 2050. This is one of the goals of Europe. This is one of the goals that Luxembourg put itself as well. And how do we implement it? On these slides, you can see a lot of different aspects and initiatives that the government has made. Initiatives to help startups work in circular economy, to help companies, to help communes, districts on a lot of different levels, help people understand circular economy and then implement it. We even have a very new strategy for the country, how Luxembourg as a country can implement circular economy.
As planners, we obviously implement the concept of circular economy into our projects. But as an organization in itself, we do think about how can we pass the message of circular economy. The first example is a project that we do for our clients. A very, very interesting project. It's one of the largest redevelopment sites in Luxembourg. It's around 60 hectares big, and by 2040 it will accommodate up to 10,000 people. Actually, again, our friends from Copenhagen, Kobe, won the urban design challenge. It was a competition, and we as LuxPlan, part of the LSC engineering group, we were advisors on circular economy and mobility. There you see very well the before and after. And this new development will house, as I said, 10,000 people, and it will be car-free. So we're really thinking about mobility issues in the future and how we can address, how we can future-proof this new development. Another part of the competition, urban design competition, and one of the reasons it was so successful is that there was a lot of thought about how can we use the materials that are already on site, because it's an old steel industry. So the idea was to create a city factory which will serve to produce and to reuse materials for the buildings that will be constructed, but also to educate and innovate around the materials on site. So that's called urban mining, and in order to have a very circular approach to construction.
The other project we wanted to highlight today is this is from a bank that we are designing the office in Luxembourg, the Advansia Bank, and they are a Nordic bank from Nordic European country, and they wanted to have a very sustainable circular building. And so here we used as well some European certifications like DGNB and British BREEAM, which are very popular here. We decided to go a step forward, and we used an American certification, which is called Zero Carbon certification. There's only a few buildings in Europe and that have this certification, and it's the first one in the Benelux area. And what this zero carbon means is that it will be a climate neutral building. The construction will have zero emissions of carbon, and the operation of the building will have zero emissions. And this will then be certified with this certification. Because we talked about being climate neutral as a country, but us then as a company, we also have to then implement projects that are climate neutral. And now to go into a completely other domain, we had the chance to work with a Luxembourgish startup called Our Choice Circular Fashion. And as a coach or circular design coach, we helped this company, this startup, to develop their product into a more circular product. We can see here the founder on the right with our Ministry of Economy, and obviously with the two wearing the sneakers. And yeah, he won a challenge of Lux Innovation, Our Choice. And yeah, I think it's a very nice company, and they even did a Kickstarter and so on.
So we actually also have our own project. We're currently building our new headquarters in Luxembourg. So it was clear from the start that we would think out of the box when designing this building with our architects. We are also achieving all the accreditation for this building. I'm just highlighting one particular fact, is that our facade in the new building is 100% deconstructible, and we're using a very sustainable material for insulation. Here you can see it here in the picture. It is local sheep wool that we're using for insulation. So how do we get in our organization? We are quite a large company. How do we get all our colleagues to think about circular economy? We do a lot of awareness within the company. Next slide. To just list a few, we have the standard corporate social responsibility certification, but also we take time every year to do sustainability workshops in-house, where we take a lot of time to discuss our strategy. We have a circular economy strategy and action plans for the whole of our organization. And we also do it's a check, it's called Circulytics. It's a free online tool where you can measure the circularity of your organization. You can find it on the Ellen MacArthur Foundation website. It's quite simple to do, and with that you can really see whether all the things you do within your organization go in the right direction. We also do a carbon assessment every year, and as I said, we do a lot of internal training. In order to attract new talent, we've also recently launched our Circular Innovation Awards, where we invite students to submit their master or bachelor theses from their universities that have a circularity element for an award. And then, as most organizations do, we have programs internal to collect ideas. And talking about mobility, and especially in our new headquarters, mobility and traffic is a very big issue in Luxembourg. So we're really thinking, how can we have a model that helps to reduce the traffic on the road, and how can we encourage people to use alternative modes of transport? So we have a very powerful car sharing scheme, And we also have an innovative car parking sharing model in our new building. This is just to ensure that we're not building too much underground, another -3 underground, but we're really sharing parking to its full effect and to encourage car sharing. So just to wrap up, 3 very easy things to do or to remember. We think it's important for the organizations to determine their carbon footprint. We invite you to take the Circulytics test to measure your circularity in the organization. And we are very convinced that greenwashing is definitely out and circular economy is in fashion. Thank you very much. I forgot in my introduction to say congratulations to Mr. Da Cruz for his new mission in San Francisco. I wish you all the best.
Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Miriam and Samuel. That was fascinating. Maybe before we move on, I know that there were in the chats that some people have asked if they can ask questions. So we'll have a Q&A session. Tony, if you want to moderate it, the floor is yours.
Any questions? I mean, it could be on the chat, but it could also just, you could speak up. It doesn't matter.
We had a question from Marco Asquinini. If you'd like to ask your question, please.
Thank you very much, everybody. I will be super quick. Also from my part, congratulations for Mr. Da Cruz for the new position. And I will immediately take advantage of it because a few days ago, a contact of myself contacted me from Baltimore asking for a 500 people company who wants to American, who wants to partially locate in Luxembourg. So I wanted to know if I can contact you via email and put you in touch with the people. They are from the government of Baltimore. I work with them on some projects. I'm Italian, but based here in Luxembourg. And they were asking me who to address to understand better. And I think by chance I'm talking to the right people. If so, I will disturb you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely, Mr. Asquini. You can contact us, give us the detail, and then we can put you also in touch with the right people in Luxembourg. That's no problem. Yes, thank you.
Any other questions?
Maybe actually from me on the Circulytics present, because I found it fascinating. So while Miriam and Samuel were talking, I was actually on the website of the foundation to look at the Circulytics test or questionnaire. I was wondering whether there's a particular company type or size that you need to have, or you need to be a particular industry that you need to be in for this kind of test to make sense, or it's really open to any company in any industry and any size.
Yeah, thank you for this question. So first, Ellen MacArthur is a foundation, is a non-profit foundation, and they are very they're one of the pioneers in circular economy. And so this tool for an organization, so it can be even a state organization or a company, it's a nice way to start to ask some of the basic questions in circular economy. So no, there's no size, there's no size limit or domain industry specific. They just ask you some questions also a bit based on your sector. And what's nice at the end, you can compare yourself or your level of circularity to other companies or other organizations which took the tests. But for us, what's very interesting is that they ask some questions, and in the company, once you think of a response, you start the whole process of circular economy. And that's the first step, is to think, okay, do we have this? Do we have a circular economy strategy? Do we even have a carbon footprint? And then once you start to ask the questions, you will want to be motivated to implement circular economy.
Excellent, thank you.
Samuel, I thought that it was really interesting, the building that your offices will be. Tell us about the insulation, that was like amazing. I mean, we just built a home and that's a bit different than what you're doing, so I wanted to know a little more about it. Can you tell us?
Yeah, sure. So this insulation, we wanted to go the step, to take one step more than what usually is done in Luxembourg with mineral wool or maybe some wood fiber, but it's a bit expensive, let's say, or more expensive than just take the standard insulation. So here we talked to a company which takes local sheep and takes the wool from Luxembourgish sheep, and they do a whole process in Austria, and then they ship it back completely, or it's a natural product. They don't put any chemicals in it, and it has a very good performance, let's say. And we managed to get a pretty good price for the whole building. It will also be a pilot project in Luxembourg. It's the first building from this size and for offices which has wool from sheeps. And then the other nice thing, or that's a bit circular, is that in Luxembourg, not a lot of people wear pullovers out of sheep wool. So usually the wool is kind of a waste product. And here we managed then to find, to give it a new value.
That is amazing. It's really, really amazing. So for a building like yours, when you're talking about circular economy, is it more expensive than a normal building? Would it be for a client? Would that be more expensive, or would be similar what they would be paying for just regular, from before? You or Miriam could answer that, because people will have that question. By doing this, does it mean, because you are reusing some things, is it cheaper, like we would say here in America, or does it become, because you would have to do many things, does it become more expensive?
I think in the life cycle of a building, there's always a point where it becomes profitable. So maybe that profitability is shifted back. But what we're seeing with clients is that they're willing to invest this additional money to get the certifications, especially in administrative office buildings. They're often investments. Investors are becoming more aware of sustainability criteria. So it's very difficult to say how much more expensive it is, but what we're seeing is that there's a willingness to invest a bit more at the start. Samuel, he's in the energy sector. Do you have any more details? It's difficult to say, I would say, but
yeah, it's a question that we get a lot. There has been some studies on this, on buildings, and even on some certifications. How much does it cost more? Sometimes the number of 5% comes, but it really depends on the building, depends on the project. Sometimes we manage to do it for the same amount or for even less. It really depends on the conception, on what the client means with circular. Yeah, climate change has a price. And so it already, like Miriam said, if we look at the life cycle, I think it's cheaper to build a circular climate neutral house or building than to continue with the consumption and then to pay the costs later on.
And would it be fair to say that it's mostly for new construction and new developments, or would it be possible to refurbish like an existing building? No, I take that would be too expensive, like to take like floor by floor. And I'm thinking of all the New York high rises here, like go floor by floor where you refurbish everything and open the wall, put the sheep or whatever other wall or materials you want to use, and then reclose it. Would that be conceptually possible, or it's only for new buildings?
It's very easy to build new circular buildings. That's yeah, you saw some examples also for districts. And then to refurbish, that's another thing. It really depends on the building. Is it possible to take out the different components, to separate the isolation from the rest? And then we can see some very nice examples, like the one of the silo in Copenhagen, where they had an existing one, and then with some out-of-the-box thinking, they managed to make a luxurious residence out of it. So the short answer would be, it's a bit more complicated to refurbish the existing. It really depends on what we are refurbishing, but it's something that we do as well.
I have a question. I think during the presentation you referenced going into a new project, thinking about when the time comes that that building is no longer needed, that it's more disassemblable and reusable. So you've gotten rid of the garbage can, you said. So that's got to be really a different approach to building if you are also thinking about it needs to be easily or more easily dismantled at some point. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, maybe I can take a shot at it. The goal is to design out waste. So if we design a sneaker, design a bike or car or a building, that from the start we think of the products at the end of life. What will happen with this product or with this element in 10 years, in 15 years? How can I retain this value? How can I sell this element in 10 years instead of just having to throw it away? So in our building, the windows, the facades, they will still have value when we need to deconstruct the building. And instead of just having, as a standard building, having to destroy everything and then even having to pay someone to come pick up the waste. So that's a bit of the idea of circular economy. It's also to make, for it to be financially viable. So on the long term, it's more profitable to do circular. And yeah, so that's a bit the idea that the building is more like a material bank for the future.
The startup that you worked with, okay, with the sneakers, that they were wearing sneakers, what did they do with that? How did that start? What was their ideas and how then was it developed? How can you just give just a little bit insight on that?
Well, our choice startup, they participated in a Luxembourgish competition that was called Design Circular Challenge, and it will start in a few weeks. It will start again. It's organized by a Luxembourgish organization, Lux Innovation, which is part of the Ministry of Economy, and so this is a startup that was in one of the categories, and we were their head coach, helping them to talk with different experts or to help them on some problems or some challenges that they would have with their shoe. And it was a challenge over 12 weeks, and there was other competitors, obviously. And after 12 weeks, there was a final presentation where they presented the product, they presented the different components of the shoe. Why is it circular? What can you do with the shoe once it's broken? You can send it back to the company, they will fix it, and they will and then they will give it back to you. Or if you don't want it anymore, they fix it and they give it to another customer. And they have very natural components. And they did a lot of studies on the whole shoe, how they can prove that it's circular. And then at the end of this challenge, the jury decided that they won, that they were the most interesting company, interesting startup, and they won a collaboration with Goodyear. So the American company Goodyear is also has a quarter here in Luxembourg, and so they collaborate together because Goodyear also has a clothing brand, and so they will collaborate together at some point, I think.
Daniel, to you in San Francisco, I have a question. Okay, so you've been there now 2 months, which, you know, with COVID and all, I'm not sure. New York is a bit different than San Francisco. Are you going to be doing some traveling and meeting some of the companies? Will you be having like physical events there, or you know, some of the missions, or just tell us a little bit about what are your thoughts that will be in the near future?
Yes, thank you, Tony. Yes, the idea is actually, I mean, to get in touch, I mean, with people in my jurisdiction. As I said in in my presentation, I will meet our consul in LA next week. I will be in Phoenix beginning of November, and then I will try step by step to see what could be feasible. But now, I mean, the meeting in persons are quite okay. I would say here, specifically in California. And I will combine visits, I mean, to different conferences with visits, I mean, with local entities, local networks, to network with also with universities, with companies, with business organizations. I plan also to visit Luxembourg. I mean, those US companies who have a footprint in Luxembourg, like AirTech, like every Dennison in the coming months. That's also one of the plans. But everything is in making, and step by step. I mean, that's quite a huge program coming, but I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you, Daniel. We're all excited, and that we could all meet physically again, and that's really with the holidays coming, so it's really, really great. I think Janet had a question for Diana, and then I think we could close and we could have that from Diana and Nicola.
Well, just my comment to Diana was, we were briefly speaking about, we think that the date in November for travel to open up between Europe and the US, if that date holds, that we're quite excited that it's going to be a little bit easier for us to come and go.
Yes, that's right. I think that a lot of Luxembourgish companies are waiting for the US to open their borders again and to be able to continue their business in the US also physically. I think that the digital events that we've been able to put in place have been a great way to stay in touch during this time. But of course, we're all looking forward to be able to meet again in person. So that's definitely something to look forward to, hopefully still before the end of this year. And I take this opportunity also to thank again everybody for these really inspiring presentations that we've seen about circular economy here, and this great way to start the conversation also on an international level, where LSE is obviously a leader in the field, and starting this conversation also with our partners in the US. So this is all very exciting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Diana. And again, in the name of the LACC, I'd like to really thank today's speakers, Daniel, Diana, Miriam, and Samuel. I was also very impressed with the presentation. I think it's inspiring to have Luxembourg companies involved in all the areas of the economy, and you see the ones that specialize in, I want to call, the greater ESG category, really raising the Luxembourg flag everywhere around the world. And I think it's probably also one of the takeaways for today. There is, as I said earlier, there are bridges, there are organizations that are here to help build the bridge between the US and Europe. But in general, Luxembourg is an extremely rich ecosystem. It's not only finance, it's not only metallurgic product. It goes way beyond that, and so I encourage the audience today again to reach out with obviously all their circular economy question to the colleagues from LSE Engineering Group, but in general again to reach out to Danielle in San Francisco, Diana in Luxembourg, or Tony and Janet here in New York. And with that, I'd like to thank also the audience for joining us today. We're very fortunate to have you all participating. Again, thank you to the Chambre du Commerce for co-hosting this event. to LSC Engineering for coming and presenting. And Danielle, obviously, thank you very much for your words, and also good luck with your start in San Francisco. Hope that the once a little more time will have passed, you'll have had a chance to enter into some form of routine. And I think, Tony, it would be good to have another event like this, maybe in a year's time, to measure the progress that Danielle will have made in the US, but also to hear more from LSC and see how they penetrate the US market, see how they've been able to actually access the bridge that is being built, and in general how the ESG ecosystem that is growing in Luxembourg can help us here in the US also meet our own ESG needs. With that, unless there's anything else to add, I'd like to wrap up for today. Again, thank you very much. And we very much are looking forward to seeing you at other events and in person whenever the travel ban is in fact lifted. Thank you and have a good day. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Bye.